Hello, welcome to the Data Science with R. Now, in this discussion regarding the aspects towards diagnosis analytics. So what exactly was the diagnosis analysis is that it is going to be called as the causal analysis, and it actually looks into the data to discover what has happened. So it is used to discover what has happened and why it has happened. So this is the basic intention of bringing up the diagnostic analysis, and so that is the reason why it is called as a causal analysis. So it looks into performance and determine why it happened, where it happened, and thereby it is going to bring up a analytical dashboard. So that why the things are going right, why the things are going wrong. In this way, it gives an analysis of to keep tracking either to a business campaign or any type of a business application like social media marketing, etc. Any type of campaigns, this diagnostic analysis is used. So the basic nature was it is going to use for discovering or to determine why something happened, and it involves at least one cause, that is usually more than one or one effect. And basically it looks into the historic data, that is the past data, and determines what happened and why happened. Finally, it is depicted over a result board so that it gives the summarized data there. Next comes the word called as correlation. So what exactly was a correlation was it taken up from basic correlation was that it is used to determine the relationship between two variables. It is used to identify the strength, identify the association between two units. So two units in sense here, these two variables. How strongly the two are going to be read, what will be the strength if these two units are going to put it into one. In this way, the variable, which variable can intersect with another variable to bring out an append answer. So for that model, we look into this correlation analysis. So one of the best way was that people use umbrellas. So that is what is going to happen. Then a device is going to take up. So now can we? So definitely, if there is a rain, we are carrying out an umbrella. So that means there is a between these two entities, and such two entities they can go up with a positive correlation. So the positive factor is pinched up. So obviously we say it is a positive correlation. So when we are working correlation, one of a famous, most popular, widely used correlation metric will be the Pearson coefficient. So coefficient, what will happen was that we are going to represent rho r, that is as a Pearson coefficient, and it is going to say, which is going to number of values in the data set. So if I am going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we are going to associate these, and then we do have some two set of factors. One, it is associated with a X column, and another, it is associated with a Y column. So now what we will be taking up is we need to figure out this Pearson coefficient. So first of all, we will take up the identify how good the height and how good a weight look up at the height and weight pair. So obviously it leads to a body mass index. So definitely height and weight are going to be correlated. So at this point of time, the n is equals to some number of values. Is sigma x in what we say that it is going to be the product of pairs. So I am going to have the x elements, and we are going to make a summation of all the elements, and then I'm going to make a summation of all the elements in vector, and why it is going to indicate things. So we 670 multiplied with 146, we will be getting this summation value here. So value now to scale the contents. Okay, so that is 670.70 whole square. So we get up this value. Now finally we will impose these all the elements, that is n, that is sigma of xy, that is sigma of x, sigma of y, x square, sigma x square, and sigma y square. Now we are pushing this all these elements into the Pearson correlation. Now finally we will be getting the value, that is which is going to be some 0.10. So now what was this 0.3 indicate as a correlation coefficient? So first we should see that whether they are positively correlated or negatively correlated. Now we can say that both height and weight, they are going to be positively correlated, going to be informed. We didn't make up this exact weight, and it's 5. I appended it to 72. So this is a pure way where we will get the Pearson coefficient as 1. But here I can't say if I'm going to have some 5.758, that is some 1773 centimeters. So if it is 173 centimeters or 175 170 centimeters, it is some 68.8. So similarly, if it is 175, it is 66.66. So which it is going to be a lot of unevenness is going to be there. So we won't get the exact value. So that is the reason why we did get the way towards 0.1. So now we even get this as 1.0. So but even this is 0.39, which is totally a positively correlated value, and the correlation was tagged as a mean. So we talked about this looking one of a primitive measure to understand the diagnostic analysis was we talked about the Pearson coefficient correlation. It's called as a predictive analysis. So in this predictive analysis, we need to identify the roots. We need to identify the roots, and from there we should predict what will happen next. So assume I'm going to work on number system. It is 15, then it is 20, then it is 25. Now you need to predict what will be the value. So this we call it as a prediction. How you are going to take the question mark value, all these as some past experiences. We call this as past experiences, and we say it is a root. So we always find some difference there, and thereby we put the understanding future value or the trend which we are going to see from the just example for understanding. But in the business context of view also, based upon their past businesses, based upon their past rules, digital frameworks, business frameworks, etc. Now they are going to forecast the future outcomes. So this predictive analysis, it is going to give the companies most lot of actionable insights. So what decisions to be taken up? So in order to give some right decision making, so it is going to give some pure and decision making for this predictive analysis. So that is where the predictive analysis is going to come into scene. We are going to these analytics are going to understand the future in the data and the trends, what was going up in this model. The predictive is going to happen. So there are some phases when we are going to work with this predictive analysis. There are different stages. The very first stage we are going to call here as collection of data. Now you can see this data, it is in raw data. So as this is in raw data, now people will go for pre-processing. People will go for pre-processing. Yeah, we made a pre-processing. That means we have used data cleaning, reduction, diamond transformation, extraction, transformation, loading. So everything has been taken up, and now it has been to a clean state. Then it is going to be a clean state. So now from the collection of data, which it is going to be raw, now we went for cleaning, and it is done. Later on, we need to either patterns. So we need to understand, or we need to diagnose. So you can see there is an orange color, a green color, a blue color. There is a rectangle, a hexagram, or a circle, or a square. So in this way, we do have some symbols, a circle, vowel shape, etc. We have a lot of symbols. So now we figure out this structure, the structure or the pattern you identified. Now you need to go for, or you need to go for forecast. Now you need to go for predict, or you need to go for forecasting. So how or the pattern is going to repeat the pattern. So that is where we are going to make this prediction analysis. So we talked about the diagnostic analysis. We talked about the predictive analysis up to now. In our earlier discussion, we made the 4 stages of the data analytic cycle. Now coming to the last state, what we are going to call here is a prospective analysis. So prospective analysis is a new word which was coined in the recent past. So the thing was, we are taking some decisions. We have taken some decisions from the predictive analysis. We have taken some decisions from the predictive analysis. From decisions, now we need to analyze the decisions, how good the decisions are, and we need to understand the feedback, and we need to understand the outcomes. So whether the decision was taken, it was a correct or not. So we need to understood. So whether the decision was wise, or whether the decision to be corrected, or any modification taken up in the decision. So where we are going to call that scenario here as a prospective analysis. So in prospective analysis, it is going to find the best course of action for a given situation. So we will analyze the best course of action, what was happening for that situation. So first of all, to do this prescriptive analysis, we take the structure which was taken up in the descriptive analysis. Then we move to the predictive analysis, to the diagnostic analysis. Then we go up with the predictive analysis, and thereby we will find some connections which were in the data, which were in the parameters, and then we will move to what will be the actionable insight towards the next. So when we are going to work with a prescriptive analysis, the main intention of a prescriptive analysis was that we have taken lot of decisions, whether each decision is making money or not, each decision is correct or not. You need to understand with it via feedback. We need to understand whether the measurable outcomes has attained or not. So whether the outcomes are realistically implemented or not. That means these was correct, potential or not. So that is what this prescriptive is going to happen. And see, this is what we can say. It is an interaction between decisions, and it is going to influence the decisions one after the other, and ultimately it is going to have an outcome which to be prescribed, and the optimal course of action to be taken in a real time is going to be happened via this prescriptive analysis. So this is where we can see that we can predict the risk in the business, and thereby we will mitigate towards the necessary implications to take up. So what the most important way of this prescriptive analysis is taking. So the descriptive analysis, the diagnostic analysis, the predictive analysis, and prescriptive analysis. So these are the more major concerns, no doubt about it. But now there are some more elements which are going to support these key entities. One of such a scope, we are going to call it as an exploratory data analysis. So exploration is that we need to understand data, we need to dig deep into data, and thereby we will make some specific relations, we will identify some specific patterns. So we are going to get some insights so that how to get a use come from the definition part of this exploratory analysis. It is going to analyze the data set to find previously unknown relationships. So that was the major point for future studies and questions, etc. So another thing was that we will check up what kind of model the data is going to be followed, whether that model to be changed or not, whether the model to be modified or not. So we need to understand the architecture of the model, what it did. So explanatory data analysis, analysis is going to be the mere collection of techniques. So it is totally used to understand or interpret the outputs occurring. Another type of analysis was the mechanistic analysis. So this mechanistic analysis, the changes in variables for individual objects. So let me explain this. So if there is a change in one variable, whether it is going to affect it in perspective of other variables. So I'm changing some x variable, whether it is going to harm y, whether it is going to improve or decrease the performance of the z variable. So x y. So then whether to increase or decrease that, we will be getting that assumption. So x I'm going to have, and x it is going to be dependent on z. So now the thing was whether it will improve z or whether it will decrease the value. When I'm going to make some addition to it, whether it is going to the performance, whether it is going to decrease the performance of z, so we need to understand it. So how much we can give so that we can improve the performance. It is not that the total way we can give and improve the performance, but minimum to minimum, if it is going to be given, some boosting is going to be given, whether that variable will maximize the performance or not. So in this way, we are going to use this mechanistic analysis. So one of a example was that the employees in an organization were given some donuts, and every employee, they are given some one donut or number of donuts. Therefore, they are going to increase the productivity. Yeah, that is going on. But if they are going to add one more donut, that means daily they are going to give one donut, so that their employees are working more, they're getting their good performance, etc. But what if they increase the number of donuts supply, free donuts supply to the employees? So we will gain 5% of productivity boost, but there are two extra donuts which could end up making them lazy. So that is the happening. So it is a little bit psychology oriented answers, where how much he eats, he has to work. If he has given some additional eating content, so obviously he goes for the sleep, so that brings him the laziness, or etc, etc. So the thing was, the employees are giving free donuts in the company, and they are working towards the productivity. But of course, if they are going to add one more donut, one more donut is going to cost to the company. That is agreed. But along with that, if he is going to add one more donut there, the person is going to add a lazy factor to his, and it is affecting the performance. So that is where this mechanistic analysis was taken up. So another way was to understand the data, etc. There is another statistical modeling, which we are going to call it as a regression analysis. And this regression analysis, so this process, what it is going to do is, it is going to estimate the relationship among variables. So whatever variables are there, between those variables, it is going to make some relationship and understand how good they are going to associate among them. So for that, we are using an existing correlation, but now what is the difference between correlation and regression? The difference is taken up here. So it does, whenever it is a correlation, it is not going to provide an indication how one variable can be predicted from another variable. So when it is a correlation aspect, we need to see only association. It is going to check only the association of variables. But when it is going to be a regression, it is going to predict. It is going to predict the outcome from the variables. So that is the basic difference what this regression and correlation is going to have a crucial difference. So regression analysis, it is a way to predict an output variable from the predictor variables. So there can be a single predictor variable, we call it as a linear regression, but there are some multiple predictors up a line. So as it is giving up a line, how we are going to get the those of the dependent values. So what was the relation? So that is going to be taken up. In order to do that, the first approach was the predictor value is represented. So whatever values we need to predict, those values we are going to call it as an X. So we are going to call them as an independent values. And output value, we are going to represent it as a Y, going as dependent, and Y we call some dependent variables. And now we are going to represent the line, we are going to represent a linear line, and that linear line is going to be taken up with an expression called as some y is equals to mx plus c, but we can't directly write these ideas into a statistical form. So we write here as y is, say this one, it is going to not set the, here is an example what we are going to take up. So we are taking an example towards the regression data set here. So in this regression data set, we are taking some students database towards taking up an examination, and story, and the score is going to be represented with the marks, etc. So now we are going to have some 1 to 10 elements, total number of entries in the data set. So this is the data set, total number of entries in the data set. Now we are going to have an attribute and a score. We are going to have some attributes and we are going to have a score here. So attribute we are going to call here as a predictor value. Attributes we call here as a predictor value. So when we are going to call here as a predictor value, now we will see this predictor value is going to be the independent value. Predictor value we are going to assume here as a independent value. Independent value, and score we are going to get this as a dependent, or we are going to call It has, yeah, this is called as a dependent value. So now what we are going to find was, we need to find one, we need to find slope. Second one, we need to find the intercept. Intercept is going nothing but the error here, and error, it is going to be represented with beta naught. Slope, it is represented with beta 1. So now here what we are going to do is, first of all we need to bring out the line. So for that what we are going to do is, we are taking up the data, we go with a Pearson coefficient, and then we're going to get this rho value, that is R, and it is given 0.4. So first of all, we see the correlation, we see the understanding between attitude and scores, whether attitudes and scores, whether they are correlated or not. First, whether two items has a relationship or not, we need to predict. Until unless we predict, we cannot go for the level. Therefore, first of all, we are going to use the rho value with the Pearson. So almost it is nearer to 1. Therefore, it is going to be at, we have standard deviation for this x, and then y, that is 3.30, and the standard deviation for y score, it is going to be some 22.8. Now we need to find the slope of the value. So how we are going to get the slope? So I'm going to say I need beta 1. So obviously say it is beta 1. So first one I can say it is beta 1x, so it is y minus beta naught. Then I can say beta 1, that is equals to y minus beta naught by x. So now I'm going to get this value, so 0.94 into some 22.80. Now it is it is the standard deviation of course, and then divided by 3.10. Again, this is also going to be the standard deviation, that is also standard deviation of attitude. So obviously we get this beta 1, it is going to be of 6.91. So beta 1, what we are going to assume? We are going to assume this as a slope. We are going to assume it as slope. Later we will find beta naught, which are going to call it as an intercept, or we are going to call it as some error term, which we are going to call it as an intercept, or we are going to call it as an error term. So how we are going to calculate? So how we are going to calculate the error means, first of all, we are going to take up this as 159. So we get this beta naught, which is going to be the mean value, or we take the data set, that is x bar and y bar, and the mean is the 70.6. So now we are calculate into some just so we are going to get this value minus 329. We call this one as error. this as a okay. As up and so now if X is going to be the now what we have which predict the Pearson coefficient. Then we talked about how to compute B1, how to compute B0, that is how to compute the slope. So that is all considered, and thereby we are putting this into the formula. And then new in the predicted value. So that is all from this topic. Thank you.